Thank you, Brian. The words of Cornell, Josh's dad. Let me tell you about my son Joshua. Joshua was born when his mother, Mary Jo, and I were young, and we felt invincible. I was so proud of our son. My full name is Harry Cornell Johnson III. It follows naturally that my firstborn son would be the fourth in the line. But his mom saw things differently. Name him anything but Harry, she said. So our son took a nickname which I had given myself, Joshua, or Josh for short. And until his hair grew in, we called him Yoda. Later on, I called him Boot. Boot. I was focused on Josh. And when my marriage to Josh's mother ended, I took my young son back with me to North Carolina. I had grand intentions of providing for him on my own. Of course, when we got back to Durham, reality set in. I was a youngster myself, with little means, and I was attempting to raise my toddler son myself. My grandmother Helen, who we called Gigi, and my mother Marlene stepped in, and together we raised and loved Joshua. My aunts Mary and Marta, and my great aunts Lanza and Grace, my brother Scott, and my sister Christopher, all took part and tended lovingly to help Josh on his way. Kerstin joined Josh's team when Josh was 7 years old. Between Gigi's and Mom's and our home, Josh was the lucky kid who ended up with 3 bedrooms. He lived with Kerstin and me during the week, and my mother helped him get to and from school in those first years. In the afternoons, my mom would help him with his homework. Often Gigi and my mom would vie over who'd get to keep him on Friday night and on Saturday evening. Josh was nurtured from all sides. Of course, this must have been confusing to Josh, all these different parenting styles. You see, at Gigi's, Josh could do no wrong. Gigi provided Josh with solid comfort and unconditional love. With her, he learned to share an interest in Sunday afternoon golf. And Josh called his grandma, Marlene, he called her Marla, and she took him on exciting adventures. Mom took Josh to meet Howdy Doody one time. The photos from that day suggest that Buffalo Bob Smith and Howdy Doody were fortunate to have their photo op with Josh and Marlene. Or mom would take him to the mall and she'd get him the most colorful Converse she could find, just so they could clash with his mop with beautiful red curls. Well, Kerstin and I tried to bring some normal routine to Josh's life. He'd help Kerstin in the kitchen. Josh had this thing that when instead of eating on the fly, or instead of eating in front of the TV, Josh liked to eat at the table. So he took great pride in his role of setting the table. And Josh and I would tease and horse around all the time. He was always eager to wrestle with me. And at night, Josh slept with our Great Dane named Hetty. Or he'd curl up sometimes with our orange cat named Edgar Howard. I almost said Edgar Johnson because I thought it was another Johnson clan. In the summer, we'd swim and we'd wade on the Eno River just above a place called Fuse Ford, just up the road. We hiked all along the river in every season. During the worst heat of the summer, Kerstin and I would take Josh tent camping. These trips were unpredictable seaside adventures to the wilds of Ocracoke Island. And despite the mosquitoes, the black flies, the August sun and heat, and the terrifying thunderstorms, Josh never complained. Josh just loved the adventure. He loved the raw beauty of the barrier island. At home in elementary school, Josh was identified by the school system as having learning difficulties. The school said he was a smart kid, that was not meeting his potential. So we all worried and fussed over his education and the Durham Public Schools individualized education plan for Josh. Kerstin and later our friend Dave Hewitt worked routinely with Josh on his reading throughout elementary school. Each morning before school, Kerstin and Josh would read together. They'd take turns, page by page. Josh would willingly struggle through his page, knowing that the next page would be read to him. The effort paid off, and Josh soon became a confident reader. Josh's granddad, Dr. Montrose Moses, coached him on his science projects. With Monty's guidance, Josh did a project one time for his 6th grade science fair that compared how different liquids behaved when poured into water. There was fire involved as well, and Josh took first place. Josh was happy in his childhood, and as he was on the verge of adolescence, he said that if it was possible, he'd just prefer to stay young. Well, in Josh's adolescence, he worked through that natural separation that occurs between the child and his parents. It was especially difficult for Josh because he had so many different parents and different groups to separate from. We were pleased when Josh chose to enroll in a culinary arts program through Job Corps in 2000. Josh had a natural ability in the kitchen, and this was a good move to harness his talent and to challenge it into a career for himself. We were proud of the plan. First, Josh worked as a cook at Piper's Deli here in Durham, and later at Rick's Diner in Durham. In 2001, some friends, I'll say, convinced Josh that the mountains of North Carolina would refresh his life, and so he headed west. And Josh cooked at the Speckled Trout in Boone for a couple of years. And then on his return to Durham, he continued working as a cook. In 2010, he was employed at Jimmy John's, where he made fast and dear friends, the kind of friends that stay with you for a lifetime. Josh had a brotherly connection to his cousins Jessica and Brian. As teens and as young adults, Brian and Josh were joined at the hip. One time their shenanigans took them on foot on a westward adventure. When they got to San Francisco, they stashed their belongings in a place where no one could ever find them so they could explore the city. I think it was on a rooftop. They came back that evening, and of course all of their gear was gone and had been confiscated by other street people, and they had no sleeping bags, no belongings, so the gig was up. Of course they called my mother, Marla, and she arranged for bus fare to get him home. Later on in life, when Brian met Fiona gained not only a husband, but she also gained the frequent companionship of his cousin Josh. She told us that she grew to see Josh as the closest thing she had to her brother. In recent years, Josh had been reconnecting with Mary Jo's side of his family. He became especially close to his brother Alex and Alex's partner, Chelsea. Alex and Chelsea helped raise Josh's spirits through difficult times. You know, Alex and Josh shared a strong resemblance. It was good for each of them to look at the other one and know that they were looking at their own brother. 5 weeks before Josh's death, Josh was back in all of our lives. All of our lives. He had completed a course in electrical training at Piedmont Community College with top marks. We looked through his notebooks from the course, and we found intricate electrical drawings that Josh had done in his own hand. Also, test after test taken by Josh, graded at 100%. I wish we had the opportunity to tell Josh how proud we are of him. Josh was in a positive state of mind, and he was caring and thoughtful in his interactions with each and every one of you. Josh sported his ear-to-ear grin. Josh had moved in with my mom, and she got to see his great attitude every day. She enjoyed his companionship so much. Our son Rowan also got to spend time with Josh in those last weeks of Josh's life this summer as a counselor in training at a day camp. And for 3 weeks, Marlene picked him up every day after camp. And each one of those days, Josh would make sure that Rowan got a sandwich, and then the two of them would take a dip together in Marlene's pool. We're very happy and so glad that Rowan got to have this time with his brother. Josh had also started a job cooking recently at King's Sandwich Shop here in Durham. He had only been there a couple of weeks, but the owner, TJ, was thrilled with him. On Josh's first day on the job, some of the other employees didn't show up for work, and Josh was just thrown into the mix, and he performed well. On another day, a customer told TJ to please give compliments to the chef because his hamburger was the best he ever had. The chef was Josh, and TJ gave him the compliment, and Josh's response was, "Of course it was, I cooked it." TJ admired Josh's confidence and felt he had found a vital person to compliment his crew at King's Sandwich Shop. After Josh's tragic death, we looked through Josh's belongings and we found that he had been given a Bible by a friend. Josh had marked up certain passages in the Bible, and one of those passages that he marked was James 1:19. James 1:19, as we've heard already today, reads in part, "Let every man be swift to hear, let every man be slow to speak, and let every man be slow to his wrath." Josh seemed to be living this. If this was a mantra that Josh was applying to his life, maybe we should all take note. Josh was in a great place in his life. His difficulties seemed to be behind him. My son Josh was happy, my son Josh was hopeful, and my son Josh's life was filled with possibility. And today our hearts ache knowing that there were great things to come in your life, Joshua, and that those great things will never be. Boot, we love you, Boot, and we always will.